Hello, I'm Ed Hansen. My buddy Dale and we've been known to do some work around Bloomfield. We have been restoring the cemetery to the best of our ability, worked at the bell tower, ball field, things like that. And all along the way, I've been gathering history. A lot of you have joined the Facebook page for the Bloomfield Cemetery. I recently started a YouTube channel for Bloomfield and the cemetery. And I thought I would take a crack at presenting some of the history on video. Where that becomes helpful for me is that I can show you the photos and I can write about the photos and such, but there seems to be issues, items, extenuating circumstances that go along with some of the people and places. And I thought it might be helpful, but while I'm talking about it, certain stuff just comes up, left brain, right brain stuff, right? So, so I just thought it'd be a good way to give give more information, similar to having a history sharing session, like at the Oddfellows or the Masons, where we just start talking about history, and as a result of that, more history gets uh, brought up, learned, questioned. And the questions are very helpful. If you have questions, please send them along through through Facebook. That's probably the best way. Bloomfield Cemetery on Facebook, and you could send a message if you have any questions or something. I'd love to entertain questions and do the research, figure stuff out. So the first thing I thought I would share is photo for Lefever's Hotel. Now, this photo is just fabulous, a fabulous photo. It's it subject matter is really nice. It's clear, and when I get photos that are clear enough, I'll get enlargements made. That's the case with this one here. I'm trying to keep the reflection down, so I'm bending it back a little bit here. So I would estimate this photo to be around 1910. If I could get clear information on this car, that would be most helpful in terms of putting a date towards something, because frankly, there were not many cars around. There were not many cars around in Bloomfield at this time. This car here happens to be owned by Brewer Colburn, who was certainly one of the mm, most well off Bloomfield citizens at that time. His son, Ray Colburn, is in the seat next to him. Ray is the Colburn side of the Cockrell and Colburn model store that used a brick building um, on the east side of Main Street. So so we have Brewer and Ray Colburn. Now Brewer Colburn, he lived just on the other side of the Oddfellows Hall, in the house that was later owned by the Durhams and Mattery. And him, Brewer Colburn, and Bob Mattery, I swear, even though they're probably born a century apart, they're they were so much alike. Very mechanical, very industrious, smart men. Bob, obviously, I knew Bob personally for quite a few decades, and he was kind, helpful. He knew machinery. He had, backhoes. If someone needed work done in their yard, in their driveway, new septic system or something, Bob was the guy. And Brewer Colburn cut from the same cloth. He was a blacksmith. He built wagons. He had a threshing machine. If there was something large scale mechanical that needed to be done, Brewer Colburn was the guy. He was mentioned so many times as having a crew and the machinery to go out and harvest fields around Bloomfield. So I don't know if he was doing it for cash or if he was doing like crop sharing. So, but he was definitely the guy. He was owner of the building for the store, for the model store, and he owned a fair amount of property around town. So the man did well for himself. He was a hard worker. And if you can see in the photos of Brewer where he's standing, the man had a peg leg. So I don't know how far up the peg went, but it was, I believe, his right leg that that had a peg. The best example of the one to see is where he's on the front porch of the model store with Jim Holton and Babe Earnshaw. It's a pretty good photo. I have it somewhere here, but it's also on the Facebook page. But you can clearly see um, a metal rod sticking out of the bottom of his right foot. So, so obviously that didn't stop him, but because he was a good worker. Um, so that's the story of Colburn. This is Brewer's cousin and brother-in-law, Arville Colburn. So Arville was son of Parley and Olive Colburn. That was Brewer's aunt and uncle. And Brewer married their daughter, Marietta Colburn. So there's a nice family photo that I have displayed on Facebook of the Parley and Olive Colburn family. They had 4 sons and 2 daughters, and Brewer married one of the daughters. So next to him on the post there, we have Al Simonette. Al Simonette came to Bloomfield 1908, and he would marry the daughter of Dr. Cockrell. Yeah, Dr. Cockrell's daughter Margaret and Al Simonette would end up living in Santa Rosa. And at the time of Martha Cockrell's passing, she passed away at the Simonette house in Santa Rosa. And like 10 years later, that's the same house Dr. Cockrell would pass away in. So obviously, they had a great amount of trust and comfort provided by Al Simonette and his wife, their daughter. Next to, oh, and Al Simonette was a barber. That was his trade. He had, unfortunately, he was let's say, he was a veteran of the Spanish American War. And at the age of 43, he had a stroke. At the age of 45, he recovered from his stroke, but at the age of 45, he was locking up his barbershop in Santa Rosa. Just locked it, turned around, fell onto the sidewalk. He had a heart attack. They got him to the hospital, but he passed away later from that heart attack at the age of 45. So next to Al Simonette, we have Jack/John Baumhager. Now that is the son-in-law of Oliver and Isabel Lefevre. So Jack married Emma Jewell. Jewell was Isabella's first husband's name. So they had 2 sons and a daughter. Emma married Jack Baumhager. And after Oliver Lefevre passed away in 1908, they came down from Calaveras County to live here in Bloomfield. So, uh, so Jack was managing the hotel and restaurant, and his wife Emma was cook for the hotel. So, and Isabella would end up buying Denman Creamery up on the hill, and she converted the creamery into a home. that home is still there. It would later be sold to the Morrow family and then to Spoletos, who own it today. So Jack Baumhager also, he was one of those people who liked to purchase land anytime a lot came available in Bloomfield. I don't know if this, he had a ranch up in Calaveras County, and when he moved down here, I don't know, he probably, you know, had dreams about having acreage and just things and stuff. And so so I noticed as time went on, he ended up buying lots, any lots that would come available, he would purchase them. So he had a fair amount of property. Him and Emma had a lot of property at one time. So it's like he took his turn at being the guy in Bloomfield that had a lot of property. And there were a few people that, like every decade, there seemed to be somebody who would rise to the surface in terms of buying up all of the available land. So, I mean, great if they could do it, but it always made me kind of curious, like what was that about? You know, after having many years of little to nothing, and then they had some success. They probably liked the idea of having land and property. So so Jack was one of those guys that did that also. He, he so when I was working on the bell tower 2 years ago, um, Taylor Kramer and her dad Roger Kramer, a lot of you know, um, I was sitting on the porch talking to Roger Kramer, and he was talking about his mom, Stormy, and how there was a ghost that Stormy always referred to as Jack. And I thought that was interesting at the time. And then later, Taylor was telling me a similar story about her experience with Jack, and it just kind of dawned on me like, Jack Baumhager. It makes perfect sense. It if you're going to have a ghost, it might as well be him. You know, why not? So so I thought that was pretty cool. And then I kind of got to think, well, it also could be Gregory, the reporter, the poet. So Tom Gregory, his pen name was Jack, and with his personality, I could totally see it being him. So got two Jacks to work with here. So anyway, that is Jim Holton on the other side, and I don't have a lot of information on Jim Holton other than the fact that he seemed to frequent Bloomfield. He's in photos with Brewer Colburn. They were similar in age, and probably just like participating in whatever was going on. There's a photo, that same photo I was talking about, with Brewer Colburn and Babe Earnshaw in front of the model store. Jim is there also. So as you can see on this store here, the siding, the board siding, and the trim boards are clearly distinguished. And this is a backside here. I got mounted another shot of the Lefebvre Hotel also. And this is Oliver Lefebvre and Isabel Lefebvre. And this is Isabella's mother, um, Mrs. Light. She has crutches on there, and I have another photo with her crutches also. So this is this is the store version that I grew up with. Um, this this door right here, this screen door, squeaky screen door, is the one that Dale and I started going in when we were 5, maybe. We'd go into this bar because Stormy would sell us candy bars and soda pop. So we'd go in there, get our frosty root beer and a Snickers bar and Reese's peanut butter cups. Later on, Roger started selling hot sandwiches and would get a pool table, and it just, there were a lot more reasons for us to go in there, even though we were way under 21. I kind of remember a lot of the bar patrons. The bar ran parallel with the side of the building, and it would always be dark in there. It would always be dark in there. So I remember that. Guys would be in there like before noon, and it would just be dark, and they would be drinking their beer and thinking about life, I guess. So this is this of course was the first version of the hotel. You know, it's a fantastic photo. I only wish I could have took a picture on this porch. That would have been cool back in the day. But this one didn't make it past 1894. Tuesday night, February 27th, 1894, someone lit it on fire. Yeah, and they said it was incendiary, so it had fuel behind it. And this is a photo that Henry Nauert did. This is Henry's wife. Her her name was Fanny. I don't know if that was her childhood given name, but Fanny Nauert. Henry Nauert, Heinrich was his real name, but they called him Henry. He owned a couple stores in Petaluma, and he married Fanny. Fanny was the sister of Isabella Lefevre. There's Oliver Lefevre and such. So this is one of the many photos that Henry Nauert took. And I've been in touch with Henry Nauert's great-great-granddaughter in Florida. She has a bunch more photos. I hope someday to preview them. I'm hoping Henry took a before photo and an after photo of the pre-06 Mason Lodge. She says there's a lot of earthquake photos there, but she thinks they're all of San Francisco. And if I could somehow preview them, I think I would be able to spot a fallen Mason Lodge, Bloomfield Mason Lodge. I think it has enough characteristics I'd be able to tell it apart from other photos. So anyway, that's my first shot at doing this video. I've done practice videos before and deleted them because I didn't feel comfortable with the presentation. So I figured I'm going to practice the presentation. I'll get one that I'm okay with and put it out there because I got to start somewhere. So that's it for now. Thanks.